today is expected to be a pro forma session with no votes scheduled. However, it is possible that progress could be made on additional small business funding. And now live to the Senate floor on C-SPAN 2.
The Senate will come to order. The clerk will read a communication to the Senate.
Washington, D.C., April 20th, 2020. To the Senate, under the provisions of Rule 1, Paragraph 3 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, I hereby appoint the Honorable Michael B. Enzi, a senator from the state of Wyoming, to perform the duties of the chair. Signed, Chuck Grassley, President pro tempore.
Mr. President.
The Majority Leader.
I ask consent to be recognized, notwithstanding the order for a pro forma session today.
Is there objection? Without objection.
It's now been 4 days since the Paycheck Protection Program ran out of money. Republicans have been trying to secure more funding for this critical program for a week and a half now. At this hour, our Democratic colleagues are still prolonging their discussions with the administration, so the Senate regretfully will not be able to pass more funding for Americans' paychecks today. However, since this is so urgent, I've asked that the Senate meet again tomorrow in a new session that was not previously scheduled, and the Democratic leader has agreed to my request. Colleagues, it's past time to get this done for the country.
Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to...
Mr. President, if I may, the senator desires to speak for a few minutes.
Yes. Mr. President, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to...
The senator from Washington is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am here this afternoon to speak about the critical aspect of the Paycheck Act as it relates to businesses, particularly in the newspaper and broadcasting business. It is so important to us to address this issue because these are the people who are on the front line of delivering the information to us about this crisis. Unfortunately, in the past legislation, we did not include associations of broadcasters and newspapers under the definition. So up to several thousand newspapers and hundreds of local radio and televisions across the country are without existing programs by the small business affiliation rule to assist these companies in keeping important newsprint and news broadcasting staff at their jobs. When I think about what I've learned about the coronavirus from these individuals, when I've learned about the broadcast information of nursing home problems, when I've learned about issues with remdesivir, I all know that it came down to the local media who was telling us about it. So when I think of the headlines I've seen, the LA Times, coronavirus is hastening the collapse of local newspaper, long struggling newspapers on the brink brought by coronavirus. I know that it is time for us to do something to help these individuals, and I hope that we can do that soon. We need the media, the local small media, to help us continue to communicate. After all, the basis of a democracy is about truth and transparency, and they are helping to build a community of truth and transparency. We need to help them during this crisis. I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
The Majority Leader.
I ask unanimous consent that when the Senate completes its business today, it adjourn to then convene for a pro forma session only, with no business being conducted, on Tuesday, April 21st at 4 p.m. Finally, I ask that when the Senate adjourns on Tuesday, April 21st, it next convene on Thursday, April 23rd, under the order of April 16th.
Are there objections? Without objection, so ordered.
So if there's no further business come before the Senate, I ask that it stand adjourned under the previous order.
Under the previous order, the Senate stands adjourned until 4 p.m. on Tuesday, April 21st, 2020.
And that finishes this brief pro forma session in the U.S. Senate. Lawmakers are expected to return to work on Monday, May 4th, and we'll have live Senate coverage for you then here on C-SPAN 2.